Hello, hello. All right, so here's what we're doing tonight. So I reached out to a moderator of Our Chinese Knives, and we are going to have a discussion on clone and counterfeit knives. So that's what we're doing. He's gonna come in here in a second. We'll start that discussion. So as soon as he comes in here, I'm gonna invite him to join me on the live stream. Obviously, we'll have a little light discussion on the topic, and we will discuss some of our, I guess, differences when it comes to our opinions on the subject. So let me see if he's in here yet. Let's see. Yeah, if you're in here, make a comment, just, anything random, and I'll send you an invite to join the live stream. He told me he's not normally someone who uses Instagram, so he might not be familiar with how to interface with the live stream. So if you're in here, just make any random comment, and I will invite you to join the live stream. I'll also try to just send you... Hold on one sec. I will try to just send you an invite myself. There we go. All right. What's up, guys? Yeah, what's up, dude? Yeah, so I just sent you an invite. His Instagram is like CMJ something or another. So let me just let him know. I sent you an invite, or you can, let's see, or you can make any random comment and I can invite you through that as well. Okay, there we go. It's working. Hello.
Hey, hold on one second. Sorry, I don't really use my phone all that often. I had set up for the computer. I appreciate it.
You are all good. All right, so can you just introduce yourself really quickly so people know who you are?
My name is Chris Jackson. I'm medically retired Army. I'm a mod on the R Chinese subreddit and a member of the knife community.
All right, well, nice to meet you. Obviously, you already know who I am. Obviously, people watching this know. My name is Brian. I go by Transparent Knives here. I'm a knife maker, modder, and obviously the reason why we're having this discussion is because we have disagreements when it comes to the subject of clone and counterfeit knives in the knife industry or community, right? So I guess the best way to get started would be, what is
Can I
your...
just say one thing really quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's good to understand something where I'm coming from as a person before we do this. Two things. Um, I am a person. I am not the R Chinese subreddit as a whole. So my personal view on things are different than the mods and the sub and everybody else. They are a community. So this is me reaching out to you to try and understand your views on things and to educate myself as a whole. So
Obviously, I've seen people make different arguments, right?
mhm.
So monolith, like I've browsed somewhat on the R Chinese subreddit. Different people have different reasons why they think clones or counterfeits are,
Oh yeah.
justified. And so, yeah. And so I think that's a good clarification, obviously. So thank you for that. But yeah, I think another important thing to clarify is, I guess, our definitions, right? Of like what these terms
Mhm.
even mean before we start saying, oh, this is bad or that's bad, right? And so
Mhm.
what would be your definition of clones or counterfeit knives, or like the differences between them when we're discussing these things?
So there's in my opinion, I see three different categories of this problem, and it is a problem. Let me just put that out there. That is a problem. I've bled for this country. I did 4 tours in Iraq. I'm medically retired for a reason. I was blown up 3 times. So whenever I say that I literally bled for this country, I'm not kidding. So I believe wholeheartedly in all American made products. Don't have a problem with that. Matter of fact, I believe that clones, counterfeits, and homages, those are the three categories I would use, actually push makers to do better. I believe it helps their QC. I believe it helps them to not slacken things. I also believe it's a good image on them. And what I mean by that is, take Benchmade, for instance, right? I use Benchmade downrange all the time. It was one of the go-tos, that and Leatherman, right? We used to use Leatherman and Benchmade. And Cold Steel. But anyways, I digress. Whenever it comes time for those kinds of things, they push the boundary on how Benchmade does things. So if you send in a Benchmade made product, they'll service it. It's great. If you send them a clone, they will confiscate it because it's IP infringement, right? But instead of just being sorry, your shit's gone, they'll even send you a coupon and say, hey, here's a coupon, right? Buy from us. We understand you like the design, right? And we're sorry that you had a knife that was bad, whether it was in good faith or bad faith. Here's a coupon for you. It's not a lot. It's only, I think like $30 or something. It's basically what the value of the knife was. But it's the point that they're attempting to not only rectify the situation of the IP theft, but they're also trying to keep that person that was engaged with them and wanted that version of a knife. Now, there's a bunch of reasons that person might not ever turn in that coupon, right? But the point is like how you approach a situation is how you're going to deal with that situation, right? So take clones, for instance.
Interrupt you really quickly.
Yeah.
So I want to engage with that point where you are suggesting that it pushes knife makers to be better, right? And I want to hone in on that because I think there's two sections of that argument that are important to me. The first is the presupposition that makers need to and are obligated to be pushed to be better, even if the means of pushing them to be better isn't legal, right? Like you agree, it's IP theft, right? And so,
correct. But why would you say that they don't want to be pushed? Why would you say that those people
don't want to be pushed? I'm saying, do they need to be pushed through illegal means?
No, not necessarily. I think any means are justified whenever it comes time for stuff like that, because legal means here in the United States. I assume you're in the United States. Like I said, I don't know a ton about you. I just know you're a maker. One of my members reached out to me and said, "Hey, this person said he's talked to, he's tried to make his opinions known." And I said, "I've never spoke with the gentleman. I have no idea who he is." Right? Like I know nothing about that. My job is instead as a moderator just to make sure that things go smooth in the sub. My job is not to police people 24 hours a day. My job is to enforce the rules and make sure that it's a safe environment for people. So let's get back to the whole pushing people as far as like whether or not they need to by legal means. I think any means. And what I mean by that is humans as a general nature, right? As a general nature, are what's called invention is the mother of all necessity. So if there is a problem and they're not selling a design the way they want to, they will find out clever ways to do so, whether that be through QC, whether that be through QC, whether that be through designs that then appeal to people, or whether that just be, like I said, customer service, like we just talked about. One of the biggest things, my father-in-law, right, loves Buck knives, has since he was a little kid. Right? And the reason why is because Buck has always stood by their products. They're a USA-made company. They're amazing in a lot of the stuff that they do. But it's because they stand by that, right? And so that's what makes him go back to it. Yeah.
So if I'm understanding correctly, you are saying that as long as we're pushing people to get better, even if the means aren't legal, it's justified, right? And so
no. I'm not saying that. No, what I'm saying is that is a reality of humanity, is that it doesn't matter whether the legality in this conversation takes place, because it only applies to our law. When you look at Reddit as a whole, or even our subreddit, right? We only have about 4,000 active users a week. That's not a lot, right? Compared to other Reddits. But the point is that we are a community of the world. It's not just the United States that sees Reddit. It's the UK. It's we have several members from India.
Let me ask you a question, because I'm not sure how this is relevant. So let's say that you are working a job to pay your bills. Okay.
Okay. Here in the United States or abroad? Because I've lived all
Here,
over the place. Like I
let's
said, I was in the
in the
army.
context of whatever. Like, let's just say in the United States for now, for this
Okay.
example, you're working a job to pay your bills, right? And let's
Yep.
say you know you're not work. You know, you work pretty hard, right?
Mhm.
Already. And let's say I go to your house, and this is not related to the idea of IP theft. I'm just saying, let's say hypothetically, I steal some of your stuff, right? Or I
Okay.
steal some of your income, and so now you are forced, due to the illegal action that I took, which is theft, to work harder to be able to pay your bills still, right? And you could
Mm,
argue that yes, necessity is the mother of invention. Someone might innovate or find some other way to pay their bills because they have to, right? In
Well,
order.
if your stuff is being stolen in the United States, there's mechanisms that we have here in the United States to reimburse you for a house theft, right? Like we have
Right. So
insurance, we
you
have.
would so you would agree that in the case where something illegal happened, there should either be a reimbursement or even obviously a punishment for the person who committed the legal action within the rules of what exists in that society, right, or in that community. So, for example,
So,
let's say on Reddit, which is where you guys are, right? There are rules on Reddit, right? There's
oh,
rules.
where I am. So, like I said, I'm not representing the sub because we're not a monarchy. There is no king. There is no. I
Oh
can't
no, no.
speak for everybody, right? But
I'm
I
talking
can
about
give
the
you the
platform.
general gist.
I'm
Yeah.
talking about the platform as a whole, right? So it's
Okay.
irrelevant what people individually think. The platform has rules, right? And
Okay.
our
Yep.
and the country we're in has rules against counterfeits, right?
Mhm.
And so when Reddit has a policy against counterfeit knives, and people say, hey, we are going to use those policies in order to enforce those policies, I want to understand why that is seen as unfair. Like, why is that seen
Well,
as something bad when the policies that are in place that you knew existed when you made that subreddit, right? Or you're a mod, right? You enforce the rules, like you said, right? To some extent, right?
yeah. You that's literally your job as a moderator
Exactly.
is to moderate. Correct.
And so, if people are breaking the rules, what is the issue with people reporting that the rules are being broken? Like, why is that problematic?
It's not necessarily no. You're more than welcome to report. That's the whole point. But the point is whether or not something is within your power to do, or whether or not you should do it morally is something you should do. So
Okay,
what I
so
mean by that is
we're granting to begin with that it is a rule violation, and then the
no.
separate discussion.
So
Okay.
Reddit's rules would be if we were in violation as a subreddit, right? If we were in violation of that, our Reddit would already be gone. We would our Reddit would no longer exist. They would take it down, right? Just like they did the guns and firearms subreddit, just like our like the swap has had to make rules that said do not place any weapons on here or anything to do with guns, whether it be sights, whether it be holsters, whether it be anything, because that is considered illegal by Reddit. And if you do, it will delete the Reddit. It will delete the R knife swap, right? Because that is against their rules. Our sub still exists because there is a gray area, and that is a reason why I took on moderation to begin with.
I
And
see. Is it a gray area, or is it just that there haven't been enough reports for them to decide to shut it down yet, and that may happen in the future?
oh, let them go for it. We've already been told by Reddit that it is a gray area. That like so, take for example all the appeals and reports that you guys have done. There's only been a total of 3 out of everybody that you've reported. Out of the like something like 380 reports that you guys have done, 3 have not been successfully appealed. 3 out of all of them,
Mhm.
because that's how Reddit sees it. Because it is a very much a gray area. Take, for instance, if you want to use analogies, you're really good at analogies, I can tell.
Sure.
Here in the United States, uh, would you, let's back up for a half second. Would you say the knife industry or the knife hobby as a whole is almost an addiction?
I mean, define addiction, because
Uh,
I
it
would say it's
is
a very loaded
it is
term.
something that somebody requires and something that somebody can't help themselves but constantly fall down the rabbit hole of doing something. So
I would
would you say
say that
that a lot of the individuals are collectors will buy things that they necessarily don't need just to have the thing?
I don't think that means it's an addiction just because you buy something that you don't need.
Okay.
An addiction would
So
suggest an inability psychologically to control your impulses, such that it
okay.
leads to a negative or detrimental effect to your health or your
Yeah.
livelihood. right? So if you
I can
can't
understand
afford
it.
to buy knives and you can't resist buying them anyway, and then you become homeless, you probably have an addiction. But that's not the majority of people who buy a knife. So I wouldn't say broadly.
So, and I also think addiction, there's extremes, right? It's a spectrum, right? There are people who are addicted to something. I know a functioning alcoholic.
Sure, but
My stepfather, he
the
was an
broader.
alcoholic and still is to this day. He drinks about a 12 to 24 pack of Bud a
Okay,
night and
but
about a half a
how is
fifth of
addiction
Jack, but he's an
related?
alcoholic regardless.
How is
Yet
addiction
he's held a
related?
job for 30 years.
Right, right. I want to know how you're trying to relate addiction to clones and.
So, yeah, so I apologize. So, take for instance, heroin here in the United States. We have overdose centers here in the United States. And the reason why we have overdose centers is because we want to make sure that the people who are addicted or are doing illegal substances don't die in an alleyway somewhere from an overdose, or they don't have issues with drug dealers who are pressuring them into sex work or whatever.
Understood, but
That's kind of like our what?
yeah. So how is that related to clone and counterfeit
It's
knives?
kind of like our sub. Our sub is that rehabilitation center. What I mean by that is if we don't exist, and this is the reason why the gray area exists in Reddit, if the gray area did not exist, then people would hide in the shadows and do way worse shit, right?
Gotcha. Okay.
So we
So
exist
yeah.
because we can
Okay.
tell people, somebody will post on our subreddit and say, hey, is this a real knife or is this a clone, right? And a lot of our members then will go, okay, yeah, no problem. Well, it looks like the thumb studs are a little too angled, or it looks like the regrind on that isn't just right, or it looks like the packaging that it came with wasn't just right. You could see where it says it's made in the USA, but on one side it says it's made from China.
Right.
That's
I,
not a
I actually
that's a
like
clone.
the analogy of the gamble, or well,
That is a
of the
counterfeit. That's not a clone, though.
right,
That
right,
is a
right. So let
counterfeit.
me
It is being sold
yeah.
as a product that it
I,
is not.
let me actually hone in on the idea of impulse control and addiction, right? I think that what you guys are doing is actually enabling a lack of impulse control and delayed gratification in order to save up for the things that you actually want. Because you are giving people the idea of the entitlement that they think they deserve to be able to get something for a lower price than it's actually worth by through theft, right?
Well, no, so I understand that, and I get where you're coming from, but you also need to understand, as a moderator, my job isn't to tell people what they should do. Just like I told you earlier, I haven't heard anything from you, and I apologize. And you can look at my Reddits. My stance is very clear on how I feel about clones or counterfeits or homages, and it is I don't believe counterfeits, which is the definition of selling a product that is deceptive in some way, as being sold as the real thing. That is a counterfeit. If I sell you a Benchmade product and I say, hey, this is an authentic Benchmade, I'm selling it to you, and it's a $12 piece of shit made knife, I am then using deception to try and sell you something that it is not. That is a counterfeit. Now, a
So you
clone, we
believe
can
that
debate all day long of whether or not a clone should have markings, right? Like, take, for instance, Sparrow Knife Works. We were just talking about the Strix the other day. I don't believe they should put his design on there. Matter of fact, I hate that. I really, truly do. I get upset by it. I can show you my knife collection over here. I own several Sparrows, right?
you believe that it is wrong that they created a counterfeit of the Sparrow Strix.
Personally.
Mm-hmm.
Are you asking personally or are you asking on the sub?
Well, I mean, for
That's
both.
two different
Like,
things, sir.
you think, for example, because I see what the moderator team has been commenting, right? You guys
Oh,
struggle.
but see, that's a team thing, whether or not it's me. Remember, this is not a monarchy. We are a group of individuals that all have their own individual opinions. It's like if I told you, if I said, Brian, would you like to be a moderator?
So you disagree with the other mods, is what you're saying.
No, I'm saying that we all disagree all the time. That's a consensus we have to come to. Just like as if we were in government or anywhere else, you have to make concessions in order to do something. Nobody gets their way 100% of the time. That is literally a monarchy. If I demand something from you and I give nothing in return, that is my will being pressed upon you. That is
I
not us as a negotiation.
so Okay, I see. So if you want to, let's say you want to have all the stuff in Home Depot, right? You just don't, but you don't want to pay for it, okay? But you
Mhm.
want stuff. And then so you try to go in and you try to just take everything in Home Depot. And Home Depot says, "No, we are not going to negotiate with you. We're not going to give you anything. We're not without money, right? We're just going to throw you in jail and call the police." Is that unfair? Or is that just you had an
That's the law in the
unreasonable,
United States, sir. That's the
right?
law in the
You had
United States.
an unreasonable sense
But
of
Home Depot's policy, if you don't know, I actually worked for them. So Home Depot's policy is you can walk in and steal whatever you want and walk right out. They won't try to stop you. And the reason why, they'll just call the police because they're going to claim it out of their insurance. That's the reason why
which is
here in the United
irrelevant.
States we have insurance.
The point is that your idea that there has to be concessions from people you are stealing from.
No, I'm not. Again, you're conflating the sub with my own personal opinion.
Okay, so if I'm
You
understanding
want me to speak as the sub, but I can't do that
right,
because
so
there's a lot of other
you're saying you
people
don't.
that have their
I
opinions.
understand. You're saying you don't defend any of the arguments that the sub is making because you are your own individual, right? And their arguments
Correct.
are right
My
because you
arguments
don't
are
agree.
what?
Their
I
arguments are
apologize.
wrong. You don't agree with them. You're representing yourself, and you don't agree with their arguments, right?
No, so I agree with, how can I put it?
Well, the way
I
you
don't agree
is
with
tell
all
me.
of their statements. I can't, right? Because if I agreed with everything they said, that would just be silly, right? That's like you having a best friend that all you do is ever agree that everything that they do is always what you want to do. That's not how the
Okay,
world
let's
works.
get to brass tacks then. What do you
Mhm.
actually believe in? Like, what are your substantive positions? The first position you came out with was that it
Counterfeit.
makers to be better, right?
Yeah, most definitely. No, I said it pushes makers to be better. I
Right.
believe that 100%.
Okay, so how does it push makers to be better? First of all, if we assume that it's okay for them to even do it to begin with, which I disagree
Mhm.
with, but let's
It's
say
not.
let's say we say, okay, it's going to happen anyway, right? We can't stop it because China's going to China, and it makes
Mhm.
it be better, right? What is the argument for the functional way, the mechanism through which that happens? Because I don't agree that it actually makes makers better. I actually think it's made
So
companies like Benchmade worse overall.
So as a well, no, that would be the decisions that they make. So earlier I did watch one of your videos, by the way.
Sure.
You had equated how the market sets the price for something, and you are correct on that. But you're also saying that you don't want China to dictate our sales, right? You don't want China to set the price. You don't want a clone maker to set the price for what something should be, right? But that's not how the world works. So let me take, for example, Rice Krispies, right? Rice Krispies is a baked cereal using rice. There are crispy rice. There are, that's usually what they use is crispy rice, but there could be popped rice. There could be, whatever. The, the different makers make those things. So you're looking at Walmart brand has great value brand. You're looking at Target brand has their own value brand, but they're essentially all Rice Krispies. Now, do you think that Kellogg sits back and goes, we should just let them make whatever they want? They can't sue them because it's a product. So instead what they do is they make their product better. And by marketing, and by taste and texture, and by customer service, they prove that their product is worth the amount of money to
So
people.
what if you improve your product, right? So let's say they make the texture better. Let's say they
Mhm.
do, and then someone is just allowed to just take all that as well. Just
Well, they
copy
do.
exactly.
They do. But there's nothing you can do about it here in the United States. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So
So your argument,
here.
because there is nothing you can do in terms of taking legal action against those Chinese companies, that we should accept and even promote it, right? Because that's
I
what you
didn't
guys,
say that. I didn't
that's
say
what you
that.
guys do, right? You guys
No,
send
no.
China to be cloned. You tell these people like Winter Pudding what knives you.
Hold on, back up. I send what to where?
I am aware that you guys have sent designs that you wanted to
You
be
guys,
cloned.
again, you're not speaking to me
Is
as
that something
Chris.
that
You're
happens on
speaking
your
of
subreddit?
our Chinese knives.
Is
That's
that
different.
that happens on your subreddit though? Is that something that
But
happens?
I don't see that. Can you show me a post where I said I've sent those designs to somebody and show me that post? I'll ban that person right now.
So
I'll do it
every
live
so
on
wait,
here
so
right now. I will
sure,
ban that person.
I will find it for you, and then you are assuring me that every person who makes a suggestion for a knife they want cloned, you will ban.
But that's like saying, no, no. See, there you go again. No, I can't ban every single person that does a clone. It doesn't work like that. Again, I'm not a monarch. My job is then to bring that to the team, and then everybody votes in the team. Just like every moderation you've ever been to. Put in a mod mail to someone, any of the subreddits, and it's not a single person that messages you back, because that's not how the world works. Just like you can't have a mayor who makes every single decision in your city. They have a city council.
So basically your general position is that as long as there's a technicality by which you think that this is justified, it's okay to do and promote. Because
No.
you're basically saying, well, that's not how the world works. That's not, things are just going to happen and we can't stop it, right? So, like, what exactly, like, is there any, like, moral argument or ethical argument you can make where clones are okay? Or do you just think that it's fine that there's businesses like that? Like, because we can't
I do believe that clones are okay. I do. Clones, now that's different. So a clone is not necessarily a one-to-one representation that is used for counterfeit purposes, right? Let me be transparent on that. That is 100%. A counterfeit is illegal and should be removed. There is nobody on our sub, and if there is, please tell me, if there is somebody who does not state something is a clone. If they sell something and say, this is a clone of a blah, 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 right?
Yes, there's a
if they say that and they're selling it as not a counterfeit product is different. And that's the reason why that exists. We have to be able to do that.
There's two problems with this logic. The first, your definition of a counterfeit is that you're making it depend on the intention and what the person describes it as.
That's Reddit. Reddit. I just read that off of their rules. That is Reddit's rules on how they see counterfeiting. That's the reason why I told you, just constantly reporting people will do nothing because their rules state that.
Listen, so you're saying that if I take a product, I steal the design, I steal the trademark logo, I steal the branding, I steal the packaging, but as long as I say that it's not the real thing in my initial sale, it's not a counterfeit. That's your argument.
Well, because counterfeit, by definition, the word counterfeit means to imply deception.
No, that's not. So it is produced in order to deceive, but the person making the secondhand sale, what they define it as in that moment, does not define whether or not it is a counterfeit. The product is what the product is, right? If I describe it and say, oh, well, it's fake, right? That doesn't change something material about the product. It still has the logo. It still has the branding and the packaging, right? So you haven't changed the product in your description. In other words, it is the same object. Do you understand that?
So you're trying to split hairs and be semantic
I'm not
about
splitting
stuff.
hairs. No, I'm
but
not.
Whenever they say that it is, no, I'm not. I'm saying that whenever I sell you something, right? If I sell you something and I sell you orange juice, if I sell you orange juice, but I label it as lemonade, right? I label it as lemonade. You cannot sue me. You can't. Because over here it says I'm selling lemonade. You bought it as lemonade. It doesn't matter what I have in the glass.
Okay, that doesn't make any sense. Anyway, my point is this, right? So let's say you're the first person selling the clone on the secondary market, right? And you say it's a clone, right? You say it's not the real thing, right? But
then clone or counterfeit, that's two different things.
Sure, counterfeit. Right? Let's say the next person, though, says it is the real thing and they deceive someone, right? Are you saying that the product has now magically transformed from a clone to a counterfeit?
That would be ridiculous. But at the same time, no. But at the same time, no, because it was counterfeit when it was sold to him. Whenever he bought that person, if that person bought it as deceptive, they believed it was the real thing, right?
But in the first sale, it was disclosed, right?
So let me tell you a story. I have a really good friend, Greg.
I need you to respond with logic to the argument that's being made. I don't need a story.
Sir, because just because you disagree on something does not mean that you get to tell me how I feel or think. It doesn't work like that.
That's not what I said. I said, can you break down logically why the product in two separate sales?
I just did. So
one
when
to
something
another.
is sold to you as a thing, right? When something is sold to you as a thing, but is not that thing, that is counterfeit. You are selling a counterfeit. When something is sold as a clone of something, it doesn't matter. You are selling it as a clone. That's how it works. Sorry,
That is
but that is the
not how.
rules that they have set in place. Now, how I feel about something is totally different. Are you saying, Chris, is that how you feel? What you said on Our Chinese Sub Knives, is that how you do things? That's different. That's as a community and Reddit. You're going by the rules of Reddit. You're not going by my rules. Are you asking me how I personally feel about things? Or are you
So where do
asking me
you think
about the
your
reason why my sub does
definition
that?
is? Because your definition of counterfeit doesn't match the dictionary definition of counterfeit, the government's definition of counterfeit.
So take that up
Where
with
does
Reddit.
your no, no,
So
no. I
take that
want
up
to
with
know
Reddit.
your definition of counterfeit. Why is it different from everyone else's definition of counterfeit who actually has legal expertise, who has linguistic expertise?
If
Why,
that was true, sir, if that was true, we would have already been taken down.
like I said,
There would have been Knife
it
Swap
might
would have
happen.
been taken down. Are you taking down all of the perfume subreddits? Are you taking down all the handbag subreddits? Are you making this a crusade right now, today? Are you announcing that you are taking down every single subreddit that you do? Is that what you're telling me?
Right. So, yeah. So this makes a lot of sense, right? Because you're basically saying if I don't take every single subreddit down, then I can't even take one down.
No, I'm saying you can't. I'm saying that that is the rules. You're saying that you can because that's how you think and everyone else sees this way. If that was the case, get a lawyer, sue Reddit. Sue Reddit. Get a lawyer, sue Reddit. I guarantee you that lawyer will not do that. Why? My best friend is a lawyer. He is literally a trademark lawyer for Blizzard Entertainment, which is now Activision. But the
Okay.
point
I
is,
want
he
to this
deals in
subject
IP
because
all day long.
listen. I look this the semantics, the technicalities don't really interest me. Let's talk about
No, that is the rule, sir. It's not semantics or technicalities. If it did not exist, it would not exist. I'm telling you, Reddit would take it down in a heartbeat.
do you think that counterfeits are a victimless crime? That's an
No,
argument I see pretty often.
no, no.
So you would agree that it does hurt
It's
the
not a crime. A
oh,
clone is not a crime. A
um,
counterfeit is a crime.
so do you think there's any victims to it? Let's say it's not a crime. Let's just
Oh yeah,
say
most.
there's
I think that
and who
makers are
does it
hurt by
hurt in
it.
your
Oh, most definitely, makers are hurt by it. So take for instance, I watched your video earlier. We were talking about the whole Tyrant Exceeds design, right? That was done by Winter Pudding. I do not praise him, and I do not think anyone else should praise him for deciding that he no longer wants to make that product. I think that it is good that he is not doing so, but saying something is good and giving him praise for doing so is something totally different. I think that every single maker should reach out to those clone makers. Brian Winters has done the same thing from Winter Blade Co. has done the same thing. A couple of years ago, he launched a long campaign about it. And in the long run, he got a hold of the makers, got them to stop doing most of it, the big makers, not the, you can't stop everybody. You just can't, right? Or Spyderco would have done it already, right?
so you
Spyderco is a
that the
massive
onus
company.
hold on. You think that the onus is on the makers, the owners
No,
of
I'm
intellectual
saying that that is the reality. Whether or not I feel that way is not how it works. That is the reality of the situation. The
okay,
reality of
so
the
you're saying
situation is it is on
but
you
you
as a person.
agree though that it does hurt the makers.
Let's go back to your robber analogy,
No,
right?
no,
Because you
I
like
want to
that.
know. Do you
Yes,
believe
you were talking about theft. So let me go back to your robber analogy. So
does it
in your
hurt
robber
profit
analogy,
margins?
in your robber analogy,
Does the
you
maker
talked about
less money because of the counterfeit?
in your robber analogy, you said that you felt like was it okay for someone to break into your house and steal your stuff, right? That's what you said. You said it's not right to do that. That is true, but there are mechanisms to deal with that thing. The the cops would have said, "Did you lock your doors? Did you put in locks? Did you do all these things?" Right? And the homeowner themselves has to then take it upon themselves to do these things, right? Because if I just left my doors open and somebody
So
comes in
we're
and steals my
basically
stuff, is
blaming
it
the victim of
morally okay? Is it
you're
morally
no,
okay?
no, no.
Is it legal? No, it's none of those things.
You
But it
realize
doesn't mean that that
somebody
homeowner
locking
shouldn't
the door
try to
has
do those
nothing to
things.
do with the legality of them robbing the right?
Like I said, if it was a legal issue, get a lawyer, sue them.
Like Okay, I want to break this down as clearly as I can to you.
Please.
Okay, if you go to someone's house and you steal their stuff, whether or not the door is locked is completely irrelevant. The measures you
Mhm.
want to take to stop you from stealing, completely irrelevant as to the level of unethical and illegal your action is, right? You are committing theft, right?
In
And
the
it doesn't
United States. Yep.
And it doesn't matter if the person did this or that you think they could have done to stop you. That is all entirely irrelevant to whether or not it is legal or okay morally for you to do what you did.
But, sir, let me ask you this. If we all agree it's illegal right now, we all do this, everybody in the entire world, it doesn't matter if they're not held responsible.
No, it
And it
does.
doesn't stop the thing from happening.
So, okay. So this is actually an interesting subject. So yeah, so you're saying that because we can't do anything about it, we need to just accept it, right?
No. So there's a societal thing. Here, let me give you,
So what do you think?
sociology gives you a really cool thought experiment, right? And
What do
that
you
is,
think we could
say we're all stranded on an island, right? We're all stranded on an island. And immediately we all come up with rules, right? Because there's no police here. There's no law. There's no court. There's no nothing. We all come up consciously with laws and rules. Killing is bad. We would all agree on that, right? We would all agree killing is bad. Rape is bad. We all agree on that, right? So what happens when somebody breaks that rule? You put them in prison or you make a jail cell or whatever. Do you kill them? Can you do that? Is that part of the law?
No one is
Well, if
saying
you all agree to, you do. That's the whole point. That's what a law is.
no. So no one is saying we need to kill cloners. No one is saying
No, I didn't say a cloner, sir. I said this is how we make laws. And here in the United States, we have laws. And so we have to follow those laws. Whether or not you feel that they are in violation, get a lawyer. Sue them. Sue everybody else around.
There's a difference between something being illegal and you, for example, having the money or the financial like access to a lawyer, things like that, right? It could still
I
be
got lawyers that will do pro bono for you. You want me to get you in touch with them?
The second thing is that international entities, right?
No, answer the question, Brian. Will you sit down with a lawyer and then speak with them who will then tell you why they cannot enforce that law? Why it would be ludicrous for you to try and go after another country's citizen for something here in the United States.
There's literally lawyers in the chat right now who can explain to you how a lot of the things that you guys promote are literally.
Then why don't they take it up? If they're in your chat right now and they believe in this, please, one of the lawyers in the chat, please set up with Brian, talk to him, send him a message, and let him know that you're going to do the work to get this done.
Right when you interrupted me was what I was going to say. That
I apologize. Go ahead.
Are international entities, right? It's not as simple. Do you understand that? If these companies were,
isn't that what I've just been saying this entire time?
No. So if these companies were in the United States, like let's say Winter in the U.S., you best believe his ass would be sued. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
So you.
But I'm trying to tell you, you can only enforce the law that you can enforce. You're trying to hold somebody accountable in another country by going on a crusade for people that is a global community. You need to understand that if you want to take it up with that individual, like you earlier, you said that Winter Pudding was in the sub, right? Report it. That's your job. You want to do that? Go for it. If you as a citizen want to bring that against him, you have the right to do so in the United States. Do you not?
So, okay, again, I think that what you're having trouble understanding is that the ability to enforce a law, right, is entirely separate from whether or not it's legal or even ethical, right? And so when you agreed with me that it does hurt the maker, right, it hurts the profits, right?
Oh, most definitely.
It makes it unethical, right?
So
now,
can I...
Now, when people... Wait one sec.
No, go ahead.
That is unethical, right? We do something called, we criticize them. We say, hey, what you're doing is wrong. Now, the reason for this isn't just for legal punishment. The reason why we say certain things are unethical and we call people out on it is to sort of try to use the fact that we are human beings, right? Of reason and say, hey, you're supposed to not do that thing, right? Even if it's against the law, which I believe it is, but even if it isn't, there are cases where we discourage people from doing things, right? Through censure and things like that in order to change that behavior. And so you guys saying we're so tired of being criticized for stealing.
Wait, who's
Good.
you guys? Again,
Good.
you're conflating
No,
my personal opinion
my point
with the
is
stuff.
you buy clones and counterfeits.
Oh, I own one.
Okay, so you guys, because you are one of
Hmm?
those who engages in this behavior
Hmm?
that I'm right?
Okay.
Right. So my point is that it's not just
Personally.
about the legality, it's not just about
Personally.
the technicalities. It's the fundamental idea that if I can make you feel or understand that what you're doing is wrong, then I may be able to change your individual behavior.
So you're saying shaming is the topic, your weapon of choice in
It is
trying
one
to
of,
convert somebody into your way of thinking.
not just that actually, no. So the suggestion.
What is your goal then on that? Your goal is to stop people from buying those clones, correct?
So there's two levels to this. The first is what you're saying, which is you can try to change someone's mind, right? Who already buys clothes. I think that's probably not going to happen. Okay, right? But you can still try, and it's still worth doing.
Yeah.
But the second level of it is when people see that people who buy clones and counterfeits are pariahs in the community, they don't want to be like you, right? Do you see that?
Okay, they don't have to
Right.
be.
That
They're
is
not
no.
me.
And that is one way to discourage people from continuing to purchase clones and counterfeits.
But is it okay for me to come to you and shame you and get all of my buddies to come to you to try to, like I said, almost all the people that were reported, almost all of them, all but three have been exonerated because of the rules. Whether or not you personally feel that way.
What have I done that you think you can shame me for? I'm curious.
I don't need to. That's the whole point. I would never do that.
No,
I would never do that.
What would you even be able to shame me for? What have I done that's wrong?
Why would I look at something like that? Why would I even try? You're trying to use character assassination techniques on something that has nothing to do with that. We're talking about an industry about clones and knife making ability. Now you're talking about you personally as a character assassination technique. I would not do that. I would never shame you.
You're saying you have personally engaged in a behavior that you agree harms makers, and you're saying it's character assassination when you yourself have admitted you engage in an action that hurts the people you say you care about.
Okay, so yes, 100%. Use that clip. Please, use that clip. Because that is 100% true. There's nothing, I'm not ashamed of any of this. That's the reason why it doesn't work on me. Because I'm not shamed, I'm not upset, I'm not whatever. There's no FBI agent or local police officer that's going to knock on my door and take me away for buying a clone version of a knife. Because it's not considered illegal. So the shame version of me doesn't work on me whenever that happens.
I understand. You're saying that the only time you feel shame and guilt is if there are legal repercussions to your actions, even when you know they're wrong.
Well, isn't that literally what it works? How law is enforced because you don't want to do that thing because you don't want the repercussions?
No, actually, because even
so you don't think
even if it wasn't illegal, I would not rape. I would not murder because I know it's
exactly wrong. That is how you feel. You're trying to take two different things. You're trying to take my own personal opinion, and you're trying to take that as justification for the entire knife community on stance on clones. My community on stance on clones. It doesn't work like that. My stance is my stance. How I feel about things is how I feel about things.
Right, and we're breaking down how you, with your own...
mean, did I not just come here as part of like a transparency on how I feel?
But what I'm breaking down is, by your own admission, you do something that you know is wrong and hurts people, but you don't care because there's no FBI knocking on your door.
So let me ask you this. Do you know what clones I own?
No, but you told me you own clones.
Hold on. I said I own one clone. That's what I said. I own one clone. I own a Waka.
Okay.
Okay. Do they not sell out instantly?
Gotcha. So now we're getting somewhere.
No, I'm asking. You said it hurts the makers, right?
Yes.
That's what you said. It hurts the makers. That's what you said. So I feel like this is me. I feel like this is my personal opinion that if something sells out instantly, there will always be a power vacuum where somebody else will make a thing in order to replace that. That's just how it works. That is literally the law of the world. And if it didn't, then explain how the reason why clones
No,
exist.
these are separate
Explain the
arguments.
reason why anything of any product
We're gonna
exists in
break down
another
your
form.
first argument. Your first
Mhm.
argument just described to me is that as long as a knife sells out instantly, the maker is not harmed, right?
No, what I said is I don't think it harms them. I
That's
don't
what
think it
I said.
harms them. Yeah,
That's
I don't think it harms them.
okay. So let's break down some of the ways it
Financially.
does harm
I don't
them.
think it
No,
harms them financially. Most definitely it harms them
right.
mentally because I feel like, but then again,
Oh no, that's a given. That's a given. I don't even
it's
need
just like the artist in the AI debate, right? Like artists being taking their shit away from the AI. I 100% believe that that's theft.
So let's talk about that. So let's say in the case of a knife like the Waka
Mhm.
that's right. Let's say we're assuming that. Now, obviously, there's a lot of knives that are cloned that don't sell out, right? But let's
Yeah,
take your best case.
but I don't own any of those.
And let's take. So we're taking your strongest argument, a knife that is
That
expensive.
isn't an argument,
Sells
sir.
out.
You just asked. I'm not trying to argue with you. That's the whole point. You
Sure,
want to
your
debate
strongest
because
position.
you think that I'm trying
Your
to
strongest
argue
position.
for
Understood.
clones. I'm not trying to argue for clones or for counterfeits or for anything. I came here, like I said, my very first statement was to
Let's
better understand. That's the whole point.
okay. Yeah, sure. So let's break down some of the ways a maker can get harmed, even
Mhm.
if that sells out currently. All right. There's a few
Please.
ways. Okay. So the first method, right, is you don't know actually how you're affecting the business model, right, and their future plans, right? Because
Mhm.
people say, hey, if you just this power vacuum exists, if you just made a cheaper version, people would buy it instead, right, of buying a clone, right, or seeking a clone, right?
Yeah.
Now, there are makers who were actually planning on production models of their knives, but what happened?
Oh yeah, because
Before,
maybe like you're talking about
before
like
they
a
were,
like a concept tenable design where they take like say Greg's design, right? Where they take like the Fenrir and they turn around and they make a cheaper version of it for everybody else.
no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like, let's say, for example, like you have a Lamia, like an SPK Lamia, right?
Okay.
That knife, right?
Yeah.
And so let's say
Mhm.
that there's already a production version in the works, right?
Okay.
Right? Do you think it is harmful if that production version, which wouldn't sell out instantly, right, because there's more quantity of it, but then someone else might buy a cheaper clone because that already exists?
So what you're saying is we have to be mind readers and know that there's a production in as
Oh no, not
consumers,
at all. What I'm saying is that
as consumers,
it's not
I
about
need to
reading
know
minds.
that.
It's not
Well,
about
then how
reading
would
minds.
I know that how would I be able to know that that's going to hurt your future plans?
Because first of all, because it's their property, they have business plans, and my point is that they get
Exactly. And
harmed.
then that goes back to the legality of things. That's what I was
No, it
telling you.
doesn't go back to the legality of things at all. At all. I know you
Sir,
want
you're
to
getting a
have
little heated. Calm down a little bit. It's okay. Just take a breather.
understood.
I understand you're a maker and it bothers you. I do. I get it. But remember, you got to take everything in stride whenever you're talking about this stuff,
Sure.
or else if you get emotional about it, it's not going to.
That's fine. Listen, so another way that people get hurt, right, is that
Mhm.
so I know for example, like you think that oh well if is not well let's talk specifically about the maker first. We can talk about other victims of this behavior, right?
Okay.
But another way that people can get hurt is that, for example, when the knife is misrepresented, right? For example, let's say it was first sold as your definition of a clone, right? Where it's, disclosed that it's a clone, but the next person sells it as a counterfeit, right? Under your definitions, right?
Okay.
So then this knife starts getting passed around and people experience this lower quality knife with worse steel, worse heat treat, worse fit and finish, right? And they think this maker is not that good. His knife is really overpriced. I mean, why am I paying 800, why am I paying this much for a Waka when, I'm
So
getting.
you're saying that all those people sold that as a counterfeit, not as a clone.
Oh, no, I'm not saying anything about all people. I'm saying, do you think that's ever happened?
Oh, that's like saying that like I
Do you think,
haven't pulled the ace of spades off the top of a deck of cards. Of course it's happened. I
right,
100% cannot say it doesn't.
right. And so, exactly. And so, and what I'm saying is, as the quantity of counterfeits and clones and the
Mhm.
promotion of increases, right, there's a higher likelihood statistically of this happening, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
most
So,
definitely.
as this industry grows and more people produce counterfeits, right, this is going to become more and more of a problem. It already has been. And we've seen this
Yeah.
manifest in situations like Oz Machine Company. Now there's a lot of clones, and what happens? He's not able to issue COAs anymore because he's concerned that he might issue a COA for a clone knife, which might then be used to represent his product.
Well, see, Okay, I get that. I do. But what I would do is then, if I was the maker of that knife, I would tell them, send it to me. Send it in to me. We'll get it verified for you, and I'll issue a COA. But you got to send it in to me. I'm sorry you lost
Right.
your
And who's
COA.
and who's paying
What do you mean, who's paying?
for the shipping, for the time? Who's paying?
I don't know. That would have to be worked out with the company, wouldn't it?
Right. So either the maker or the consumer, but one of the
A-
two, right? Would
Agreed. Yeah,
but
most definitely.
otherwise would not have had to pay, correct?
I'm not saying that it's
You
not
said
an ideal
there were no problems.
situation.
You
No,
said
no, most definitely.
right. So there
So what
are
you're saying is because it harms the maker and it harms the consumer at the same time, that is not a good thing. I don't think it's a good thing, right? But at the same time, give me what would you do about it? So instead of just complaining about it, right? Let's me and you come up with a plan. Let's say that I have totally decided I'm going to give up moderation right now. I'm quitting the subreddit right now, and I'm going to go on a crusade for you. Tell me what we're going to do. What's the first thing that me and you are going to do to make this happen?
I actually agree that it's impossible to 100% stop this, right? But that's not the goal.
So, but then
right?
you inflict. So what you're saying is, but by doing all of this, by reporting things that you feel are upsetting, right? You caused three individuals. Two of those I know were now being second appealed because they were wrongfully, right, reported. One was for sexual harassment, which obviously the person's not sexually harassing anyone on the sub. And the other one was for they said they were smuggling weapons, right? So both of those things are not true. The person that their thing got reported on had nothing to do with selling weapons or giving weapons. It was actually a question. It was a question about their daily carry and about which budget Civivi they should carry.
Hold on. So if these reports don't do anything, right?
They don't, but because they take away time from that person.
So they're
So
disruptive.
take for instance the person that did get banned. Let's take all three of those individuals. They are no longer able to post. So is it okay? You can say you're justified, right, in doing this. You're justified, but that's just you justifying things, right? That's just you getting upset about things. Is it okay for me to do it back to you? Would it be okay for other members to do it to you? So you said earlier that you feel like you have the right to criticize things, right?
Everyone has
And
the
I
right
feel you do too.
wrong. Sure.
So the zero tolerance policy that we have on our subreddit, this is me speaking as a mod now, no longer speaking as an individual. As a mod, the zero tolerance clone bashing policy is that. It's clone bashing, right? It's you getting upset, calling names, shitting on other people for no apparent reason, right? That is not criticism. Criticism is whenever two people like me and yourself right now are having discourse about something, even though we both disagree about something. I'm not calling you a jackass. I'm not calling you any of those other names. Instead, I'm just having a good discussion about things with you because I'm trying to understand things. And if you're trying to truly, truly win this war, right? The way to do it is to change hearts and minds. It's what we do in the military, right? You can go in and you can bomb the shit out of an entire country, but that does not help you do regime change. Instead,
so how would you change hearts and minds to reduce the number of clones and counterfeits? And how is your subreddit as
I don't think you physically can. I don't think you can physically control it. And here's the reason why. There are always going to be people who will make profit and money from something if there is profit and money to be had from that thing. It's the same thing like the analogy earlier I told you about drugs. It's the same thing. If somebody can sell somebody drugs, they will always exist. That's the reason why the war on drugs here in the United States failed. Because you can't stomp it out. So it's the same thing with clones.
Hearts and minds. What's your strategy for changing hearts and minds?
So I think it's just giving a lot of people the information that they need, and they have to make their decisions for them. You are not the person that can do that. Just like I could never convince you.
You don't believe there's any way to influence a person's decisions?
Well, yeah, obviously. I just said that. I said you have to convince them. That would be to change their decision.
Right?
I don't need to. I'm not trying to, but if I
Well,
were to
you
do
said
that,
you
I
were
would try to
discussing.
find common ground, right? I would try. So this is just a negotiating tactic. Whenever you do things, you try to find common ground with that other individual, and then you walk them closer to that line, right? The line that you've drawn in the sand that says you don't go past here. Your job is to get them above that line, get them above that bar. So instead, by having common ground with that person and talking and be like, hey, what do you like about that night?
I see.
What do,
Yeah.
what do you what do you do?
Fine.
Well, what if somebody were to make a design similar to that, right? And could get close to that price point, but have much better action, much better bearings. Like a lot of these clones are shit in as far as like bearings. Like no offense, but you'll see a lot of the guys will literally just go to Skiff and buy skiffs for their clone that they have. It's $13 upgrade that makes the knife feel 10 million times better. Now, if those clones put those bearings in there, it would be much better and they wouldn't have to do that. But the whole point is like anybody who holds, like earlier you talked about Lamia, right? Anyone who holds a real Lamia compared to a clone instantly goes, wow, this one's shit. That's just how it works. The craftsmanship is there, right? The craftsmanship is there. And you as a maker should understand that. Have passion, have understanding. And so if you were to show somebody a design and how something works and somebody cloned your work, right? You would be able to tell them, hey,
I
no, here's the real
okay.
thing.
So here's the fundamental problem with your approach, right? You're saying let's
Mm-hmm.
have a friendly community of compassion. When people want to steal, let's just say, hey, you know what? I understand you love the design, go for it, right? And you think that
You
somehow,
just interjected two totally diverse and Jack
how
the
does that?
Puncher
Because the
things.
point is, how does that discourage people from purchasing clones and counterfeits? Like your position of compassion, how does
No,
that?
it isn't about discouraging them. That's the whole point. You're still being aggressive in your approach. How do I discourage them? How do I do this? No, the whole point is by doing so, by getting your point across to them and being able to talk to them about something, you're never going to change somebody's mind. So take, for instance, religion, right? If I was a minister and I was coming to you and I'm trying to,
I've
let's
seen
say I'm
I've
Christian.
seen people who bought clones change their minds and stop buying clones after being.
Exactly. You can do it. But
Yeah,
I'm trying to tell you, you can't do it to everybody.
sure, but that's not
That's
what
the
I said.
reason
I
why it would
didn't, I
always
didn't do it
exist.
to everyone. I said it is better to minimize it as much as possible, change as many minds as possible, shame as many people as possible into not doing shitty behavior because it's better for the world if there's less shitty
Hmm.
behavior, right? Like you can't stop all rape and murder, but you sure as hell should try to minimize as much of it as you can.
Oh, most definitely. That's the reason why we have a very transparent policy on the sub that if you try to sell something as counterfeit, you try to sell it as counterfeit, we can then, ban you. That's the whole point, right? Like
Sure,
you have to have that transparency. I'm sorry, what? You
why don't
apologize.
you
I couldn't hear you.
why don't you just ban them for selling clones and counterfeits? Period, though.
Well, clones is something different. That's what we just talked about, right? Because if I did that, they would just go somewhere else. They would just go to Facebook or they would go to Instagram or
Sure.
they
Why,
would go to
why do
TikTok
you
or they would
want?
go to wherever, right?
Why do you
It
want to
doesn't
be the
stop
place?
that.
Sure,
Because
but
if they
why do
do it here, they see it in a safe place, and those people who do that thing, they're not going to stop doing that thing. You're not going to stop them from doing that thing. All you're going to do is make it so other people can dupe them. Because I feel, this is my personal opinion, right? If I can change somebody's opinion on something, I just did with a buddy of mine, okay? So he doesn't believe that Chinese knives are good at all because he held some questionable knives about 8 years ago. And so I get that. But their standards in quality, like say, I'm not a huge fan of Kaiser, but they've gotten really good. Kubi, in my opinion, has made leaps and bounds. Vosti made leaps and bounds, right? And so I got to show him some of actually the one I actually have it on my desk. Thunder Beast, right? Vosti Thunder Beast. He's a big sheep's foot guy. So whenever I showed him, I'm like, hey, this is a really good knife. You need to check this one out, right?
uh,
He's like, oh, it's China. It's a piece of shit. You're never going to blah, 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 blah. And I told him, I said, no, dude, it's a mark. Just try it, man. You might like it. And he did. And he liked it. And the whole point is that he is going to buy that product because I showed him it was good. Now, my other friend, Greg, he's not going to be able to do that because he doesn't care. To him, it's all about money. It's a monetarily thing. He's always going to buy something that's cheap. He's the guy who buys
relate,
for gaming
hold on.
headsets. He buys a $10 gaming headset.
How is this related to anything we were just talking about?
You were talking about how we change hearts and minds. That's what you were talking about. And I said I
Right.
show them how something is good, how they should spend their money on that product.
Right. You show people that clones are good because you think they're good, and then more people buy a clone.
Again,
What's this
no,
harmful?
that's not what I'm saying. I didn't say I'm going to show somebody a clone to show them how good a clone is. I didn't say that. I
But
never said that. Vosteed Thunderbeast is not a clone, sir. This is a
right,
Vosteed.
right, but 75% of the content on your subreddit is clones, and people saying
But
that.
again, you're conflating what a clone is compared to my personal opinion. You asked me what I would do to change hearts and minds. You didn't say, as the moderator of Chinese R subreddit, what are you going to do as a subreddit as whole in order to change minds and make this happen for me? I'm not going to do that because that's not my job. My job is to put my opinions out there. My opinions are on the board. Go read my opinions, how I feel about things. Because I'm very transparent in everything that I say and do, right? So there is no, oh, I feel this way or I do this way or I do whatever. No, I'm very transparent. And if you have, I wouldn't be on here talking to you for an hour about this if I didn't want to be transparent. Matter of fact, I was discouraged by many people to not do this tonight, right?
What about stolen valor? Because you are someone who's served in the military, right?
Yep.
Do you think it's okay to steal valor?
No, obviously not.
Do you
Now, if
think?
they pass themselves off, that's counterfeit. That is counterfeit. You are saying that you are a thing when you are not a thing.
And why is that problematic?
What do you mean? Why is that problematic?
Well, I mean, people are doing it with clones, right? Like, why? They say
No,
it.
because they're saying it's a clone. That's what you're not getting. If I dressed up, so let me give you an example. The kid next door, he's obviously not, he's 19, he's not in the military, whatever. If I give him full uniform, and I have it downstairs, right? He wears my ACAs, and he goes out and he parades around, right? And somebody goes, "Oh man, you're in the army. I see you're in the army." And he goes, "No, I'm not in the army." Is that stolen valor?
I mean, that just wouldn't be stolen valor. Then that's just a different topic.
Exactly. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. If I sell you a clone and it is a
But what's wrong?
clone, it
I
is
mean,
not a
what is
counterfeit. I am
what?
not passing it
Hold
off
on.
as the real thing. It is not. It is not.
Okay, but stolen valor is a victimless crime, right? Like, I mean, what's the problem? Like, who does it hurt?
What do you mean? It doesn't hurt me.
Yeah, so who
I
does it
don't
hurt?
care. It doesn't bother me.
So you are okay with stolen valor?
No, I don't. You asked me if it was a victimless crime. That's what you asked me. And I said, no, I'm sure there's people who are hurt by it. I don't care.
What? Okay,
I
but
don't.
you are okay
Because
with stolen valor.
no, I didn't say it was okay. I said I don't care. That is
That is
different
the
than
same.
I think it's okay.
What is the semantics? Okay, so you're saying that you don't care if people steal valor, but it's not okay.
No, I'm saying I don't care. To me, my personal opinion does not, I don't care about it. Doesn't matter to me. I served my country. I know what I did. I don't have to deal with whether or not some jackass over there says, "Oh, I did 5 tours. I'm amazing." I could give two shits less. It's not my job to give a shit about what he says or does. Is it, do you really feel that way?
I see. And you would say it's problematic if people were to criticize him for stealing
No,
valor.
they should. They should.
Sure.
That's their right. Here in the United States, we have an open policy. That's the reason why I told you, if you wanted to go in the forums and
you'll
you
never
wanted to
be able to stop.
criticize all day long, you can.
But you'll never be able to stop everyone who wants to steal valor. I mean,
You can't.
shouldn't we just give up and not criticize any of them?
Well, I don't know. Should you? That's your personal opinion. You're the one making the crusade, not me. You're the one saying it's wrong, not me. Do you understand where I'm coming from? Do you see where the flaw in that logic is?
No,
You're saying,
I was
should we
making a
just
joke.
give up? Should all of us give up?
What you're not understanding is that this is exactly the same line of reasoning you were using with why it's okay to, or why people shouldn't criticize clones, right? Because what you're saying is that, oh, well, you were saying people should criticize people who steal valor, right?
Yeah. I'm saying it's their right to do so. I'm saying it's their right to do so. They have the right. They have the right to dispute somebody who's stolen valor. Correct. They have the right to do that.
They have the right for sure, but should they do it?
Hmm?
Do you want people to do it?
No, I don't even care. Why would I care what somebody else does? If you truly went around everywhere and constantly cared about all these different things, that is your choice. You are caring about it. So let me give you this. My buddy hates red shirts. Don't know why. Think when he was younger, he hated red shirts. If you wear a red shirt, does that mean that he has the right to come to complain to you? Yeah, he does. That's his right. That's here in the United States. We have the right to do so. Does he have the right to vandalize your home because of it? No, it's a law against it. He can't do that. Right? So do I care about that? No, because his ass is going to be in jail, not me. I could give two shits less. Yeah, he's my buddy and he shouldn't have done it. And I don't think he should. But that's not my job to come to you and try to convince you not to do something.
That's so interesting to me because, like, you keep saying, oh, I don't care about this. I don't care about that. I don't care what other people do.
Mm-hmm.
But then when we do things, when we perform actions like criticism.
Oh, no. Against me, you're fine. No. Against me, you're fine. Like I said, this is my personal opinion. If you want to report me to all day long, I've been reported like something like 60 some times in the last 2 days. It's pretty much hilarious because I'm now on first name basis with like 4 of the fucking Reddit moderators. Pretty great.
So, like, basically, you're telling me that if, let's say in a hypothetical world, the reports were, resulted in permanent bans for these people, would you care?
Yeah. I care if it is not a ban that was justified for them. Yes, I would care. Like that person that was reported for sexual harassment, and they did not do sexual harassment. So after I talked to Reddit, the whole point is that people are escalating things because they feel that that person's not getting banned or that person's account's not getting removed. So they're escalating in false reports, trying to get them banned because obviously if this isn't enough, well, maybe this will be enough. If this isn't enough, maybe that'll be enough.
Sure.
They're willing to lie for that.
I don't agree with that method. I think that they should only be reported for counterfeit, which is what I've noticed.
Counterfeit, correct. Counterfeit. You are 100% correct. If it is a counterfeit weapon, counterfeit knife, counterfeit bag, counterfeit perfume, counterfeit jewelry, I think you should 100% report them. Counterfeit. Remember, like I told you, only 3 individuals out of all of those reports have been found credible in order to get that person banned. And like I said, 2 of them are one was a sexual harassment ban, which I said is probably going to get reappealed. And the other one was for selling weapons, right? And then that is the moderators, their opinion on the justification of the law. Like I said, it is their rules. Sorry, not law, their rules. Because remember, it is a gray area. So the Reddit moderators have the right to interpret that as a way to get them banned.
So you're saying on Reddit, it's a gray area, and so it's a useful place for this subreddit to exist and be able to perform unethical actions without...
I didn't say it was useful, but sure.
Right. Now, here's my thing. So you guys are mods, right? And you guys,
Oh, wait, are we speaking again as me as a moderator and me about myself, right now, or me myself?
You as a moderator, right?
So you're asking me, remember, you got to clarify questions on that because I'm going to answer always as a person unless you ask that specifically as me as a moderator.
Would you, as a moderator, right, with some level of sway with the moderator team, tell the other moderators, hey, it's a gray area on Reddit, but on other platforms, it's not a gray area, right? And on other platforms, you don't see clones and counterfeits being paraded around and promoted because they're not allowed. So if we, as the moderators of Our Chinese Knives, were to crack down on this, yes, people would try to move to other platforms, but they wouldn't be as successful because it's not a gray area in those other platforms.
But it is. I can show you Facebook subs right now, or Facebook groups that have tons of shit on there that is way worse than anything you can speak of. That's because those are locked, right? Those are gatekeeped. You have to apply. You have to ask permission in order to get into the thing, so they vet you. Whereas because we are so transparent, because we are an open forum, right? We are an open forum. It's a double edge, right? Like people can't fuck around or else they find out. But at the same time, like, it's also open in the light so anyone can see it. So people don't sell counterfeits. And if they try to pass them off as counterfeits or they scam anyone or anything along that nature, yes, technically they would be banned.
The reason I would prefer people to be stuck in the shadows in these private Facebook groups or wherever is that...
prefer?
Yes, I would.
Okay, you prefer. Gotcha.
And the reason why is because I want these people to be pariahs. I want these people to be people. I don't want to normalize, which is what your subreddit tries to do, is the legalization of clones and counterfeits, trying to tell people it's okay to do, it's totally morally justified. These makers, they're so greedy, they charge so much money, and their profit margins must be so massive.
So who?
We are the Robin Hoods taking money from these greedy makers and buying cheaper knives instead,
Mhm.
right?
That's how you feel.
No, that's how you guys feel, because that's how you act and what you
You
say.
guys, again, like I said, point to where I've said that.
Oh no, I don't care about your personal distinction, right? Like you're every
I
time
have to, as a mod, whenever I post and my mod tag is there, it's a personal distinction.
No, my point is this. Every time I make an argument, right, and you don't have a response to it, you just say, well, my personal opinion is this, but
Well, because I'm an individual. If you're asking the stance on the Chinese subreddit, you can ask me what is our collective stance, and I would tell you my stance on things, and then it goes to a vote, just like everywhere else in the entire world would go to, whether it be a company or whatever. See, you decide to go big, right? Your knife design sells hundreds of thousands. You're amazing. You're a multi-millionaire now. You're going to have a company that you have to respond to everybody else and all of their different opinions. That's just how it works in order to get things done. And so in a subreddit, even with only 4,000 people, which is small, the point is like, I then submit, like, let's say me and you, we come to an agreement today that we should ban all clones. There should be no sell post whatsoever. It should only be whatever. Let's leave it all to the swap, right? Let's leave everything to the swap. Me and you, we work it out today. I can't promise that because I have to go to the rest of the mods and give them my opinion on it.
Right. And that's what you should do as an individual with any sense of ethics or a sense of right and wrong.
But does that make it so?
No, but what you should try. Right? Because there are things in life, right?
I disagree with a lot of people in our mods. A lot of our mods. There's a lot of things like I told you, I don't agree with everybody just to agree with them. We talked about that earlier about how that you should not do that.
And so we agree then that what you should be doing is actively promoting that clones and counterfeits shouldn't be sold on your subreddit, right? Because they harm makers like you admitted to earlier, right? And you're going to start actively saying that on your subreddit, right?
So what you're telling me is I personally should do that. I personally should do that. Not as a mod. I personally should do that.
Yeah. Do you think you should do that or no? I mean, you agree.
Yeah, I'll do it right now. Want me to do it?
I think it's something you should consider.
I think that's my stance. If you've read any of my posts, you would know that my stance is that. My stance is that if you are going to do that thing, right? If you are going to sell a clone or if you are going to buy a clone, this is a space where you can do that. If you want to come in here and you want to talk about how you feel a hollow grind is better than a flat grind, you have the right to do so. But you don't have the right to call someone who likes a hollow grind an asshole. You don't have the right to do that, right? Because that's name calling.
Right, but
you can go on a crusade about how the flat grind is amazing.
Right.
You can go on the crusade about how clones are bad. You can do that right now.
That's not what your policy says.
Oh, yes, it does. I'll read my policy online if you'd like me to. Right now, I will read it.
Let's look at it.
Yeah. So here's the community rules for toxicity. Okay, so I'd like to address the community, and not only as a mod, but as one of you. This sub has been the kind of lawless for now. And moderators, we didn't have the time to fully police the sub. Hold on, I'm reading.
Read the one sentence starting from however. Why won't you read it?
Hold on. Okay, so I would like to address the community, not only as a mod, but as one of you. This sub is the kind of, I'm going to read all the way through it, so I would read that sentence, just so you know.
Go ahead.
The sub has been the kind of lawless for a while now, and moderators that we did not have fully time to police the sub. So over the last couple of weeks, you've seen changes such as new moderators. However, the thing that we want to address today is clone bashing, clone hating, or general shitty behavior to those that enjoy that side of the knife community. This is going to be a rule in the sub, and therefore you are subject to permanent ban if you break this rule. There is a zero tolerance policy. Therefore, you will be removed as soon as you are found in violation of this rule. Okay?
Correct. So in other words, clone bashing, clone hating, or general shitty behavior. You talked about general shitty behavior. I agree you should ban people if they're calling people names, being disruptive, whatever, right?
Would you like us to be more specific on things?
But clone hating.
We can do that. We can be more specific on things if that's how you feel. Please put up a post tonight. These are the things I think your zero tolerance policy is wrong. These are the things that I feel like should be added or taken away. Remember, you as a community member, you, Brian, are a community member. Your opinion matters. That's the reason why you have the public forum to be able to do so. You could say whatever you want. The point is don't be an asshat when you do it, right? And then even then, it goes to all of the mods. And then even then, all of those mods vote. And if one of those mods, myself, so say tomorrow, you get banned from the sub, right? And all of the other mods decide to vote for that. And I said, no, I think Brian should stay. I think that he has valid opinions, and he should be allowed to do so. I am outvoted. Doesn't matter.
How many mods are there?
There is Edgewise, Arc, Hive Tool, Turbulent, myself, and then Sayir, who's the actual owner of the sub.
What is the majority rule? Because that's what you're saying is most important, right? What is the
majority rule? Is majority rule to whoever.
What is the majority opinion on the things we've talked about so far? Does the majority agree that it's harmful? That it harms bakers? Does the majority agree that
is a private conversation you're asking in moderation chat, and what I feel like those other people have posted or said? Whatever they posted publicly is what you can read, and then you can infer from that. I'm not going to make the judgment call, and I'm not going to talk about what we talk about in moderation chat, right? Between each other and moderators.
What you guys say, I should be able to infer.
Yeah, you should be able to. Right. You can't do that? You can't post on the sub and ask those kinds of things?
Oh, no. I mean, I've read these posts. I've seen you guys stealing.
Well, reading and interaction are two different things. You should interact with the community too, right? Not just read them, not just lurk. Post. You should do that. You should get your opinions out there, because maybe there's more opinions.
Right?
What?
You realize I'll get banned instantly.
No, I will unban you tomorrow. But don't be an asshat. If you're going to be an asshat, that's different.
No, you just said.
But if you're gonna talk civilly and you're gonna have a conversation about things, I will overstep myself and I will unban you.
But you just said you would get outvoted and I just get banned again.
No. It doesn't mean I can't unban you. I could do it right now. That doesn't mean I wouldn't be removed as a moderator, but I could do that.
Right, and then you'd be removed as a moderator.
But that's not the point. Then I did it. You were just asking what I would do as a moderator, and I'm telling you, as a moderator, this is what I would do.
I know. My point is, the reason I don't engage is because I think it'd be annoying to have to fucking, like, I don't know, not be able to, like, read stuff.
But it would be worth it, though, right, man? I mean, it would be worth it. You are a maker, for God's sakes, and your opinion should matter.
All of my opinions go on your subreddit anyway, because you guys are very...
That's good, but... so say you're the vocal minority, right? Like, technically there's a silent majority. All of those people sitting in the background are not speaking up either, because they all feel the same way you do. They read, and there's already a post on there about it. I don't need to post on it. No, majority rules. If we were to put up a poll, so let's take, for instance, our selling, trading, whatever post that we had a couple months ago.
I think
Now listen, we put up a poll on it because we wanted everyone to vote on it. On sales rules, right? That's what we did.
I fundamentally believe that a majority of the people on your subreddit have no sense of ethics and therefore don't have any sense of, oh, this is wrong.
And that's their place. That's their subreddit, sir. If you hated, so let's take for example, if you hated gays and there is a gay subreddit, it is not your job to go in there and tell them how their lifestyle is. And if you do, that is your right as somebody on there. And if they ban you or they do whatever, that is their right as their sub. That is maybe their policy that they have. I don't know.
I'm just explaining why I don't comment.
Yeah, but I think you should. I'm encouraging you to do so.
I'm literally just going to get banned.
But I would unban you. Like I said, I would do it in a heartbeat. Why shouldn't you?
Anyway.
You might get downvoted, but I won't let anybody ban you.
It doesn't matter. Dude, I literally just checked your front page and, like, 3 posts are about me. Like, my opinions are being heard there. Like... But
that's good then, right? Then you need to keep going with it. Keep rolling with it.
Continue
keep
to go.
Posting. That's good.
Yeah.
You don't need to, you can continue to report people. You can continue doing that. I can't stop you from doing that. I'm just letting you know that you talk about victimless crimes all the time. Like I said, those 3 people are never going to get their accounts back. One had their account for 12 years, and because he made a post asking about a knife, he wasn't selling, he wasn't doing anything. I know this dude. I know he doesn't sell. He just made a post about he was asking about a Civivi budget knife and whether it was better for him to buy a Bear Ops, what his grandfather had given him. Right, his grandfather had given him a Bear Ops knife for his birthday, right? That post got flagged by somebody because you are inciting rhetoric and telling people they should go report people. Now, you are not responsible for their actions, but wouldn't you say that is a victimless crime?
That's not what victimless crime means. My point is that
really, because he can no longer access his account anymore, and that person now is hurt because he can't do that.
The thing you're looking for is collateral damage, right?
Hmm?
Because you're saying that because I said people should go report.
So you're saying as a maker, if a clone person, affects your budget line, that's just collateral damage.
No, what I'm saying is you're saying that if I tell people, hey, go report the counterfeits, and then someone reports not a counterfeit, that's collateral damage, which, I mean, you can just make a new account.
No, but you haven't just said that. You haven't just said go report just only the counterfeits. You haven't said that.
Really? What did I say? What did I say to report?
You said to report IP infringement, right? Which is not counterfeit. That is something
That's
totally different.
No,
okay.
Right now.
Please.
Let's post right now.
Please. No, I appreciate it. Thank you for setting me straight.
The post literally says, right?
Yeah.
It's a slide.
Your post or your Instagram? 2 totally different things.
My post on Instagram.
Okay, that's what I was just making sure because I'm going to share this with the mod team tonight, and I want to make sure that I get everything correct whenever I do it. Right?
Yeah. So
can you link me that post in Reddit, please, so I can go ahead and post that in mod chat?
The problem is I'm live right now, so I can't actually look at.
No. You just do it afterwards, dude. Hey, no.
Never mind. I found it.
You can do it afterwards. That's fine. I don't mind.
I found it.
I appreciate it.
It's not a false report. This is a quote. It's not a false report if you report for counterfeit sales, which are against policy. That is specifically what I tell people to report for.
Awesome. Did you go ahead and link that to me? I don't see it in here.
I can't link it to you.
I got it. Oh no, I didn't.
I just linked it to you right now.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm just going to post that.
I never said anything about. I never said the word sexual harassment or weapons or anything like that. I specifically said report for counterfeit.
Awesome. So right now what you're saying is you're telling everybody, and you're gonna post on this because you feel bad that this has happened to people. You're going to clarify, just like we're going to clarify our rules, right? You should clarify that people shouldn't be doing this, that you need to tone down the rhetoric about things.
That's already been done. I said
really?
Someone said, hey, people are getting reported for weapons, and I specifically clarified. I said, I don't want people to report for weapons. I want people to report for counterfeit. I said that in the comments.
That's awesome, dude. I appreciate that a lot because it does. It means a lot more than what you can. The one dude, like I said, he's disabled and he can't. The one dude is disabled, and so his only real reach out was on a subreddit, and he now no longer can interact with that subreddit because of that.
Again, like I said, that's something that's not related to what we're
talking about. I appreciate that. I do. I'm giving heartfelt thanks for that because that's one of the things that if this is how you feel, I will go to bat for you. If that's how you feel, I will do whatever I can. But you have to be. I have to feel right. I have to feel that is the right thing to do. I'm not just going to do it because you say so. I'm not just going to do it because other people say so. I could give 2 shits less about them. My job is because I feel it is. My personal conviction about how I feel about things. That's how I go about moderation. So even if I disagree with half the moderators or all of the moderators, my job is to talk about that shit, right? My job is to give the opinion of that shit because maybe I might change their mind, right? Just like I was talking earlier, you need to put that out in public forums so hopefully you can change other people's minds, right? Like that, your opinion matters more than you possibly imagine. Most of the people I didn't even know you existed till today. Swear to God, I have no idea. I don't think I've ever had interaction with you. But the
No, we
point
have.
is now that I have had interaction, I'm now aware of your situation, right? And that allows me to better be informed and also want to maybe help. That's the whole point.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and that's good, obviously, like, that you have that.
Isn't that what you want?
Eh,
Right?
and it depends, right? It depends on how it manifests in terms of actual implementable changes in behavior, right? Like,
So
one
what
of
you're saying is like you putting out that Instagram post telling people not to report people because that isn't how you felt, right?
well,
That doesn't
let me
mean
put it this.
anything because it didn't result in actions that
No, what
were
I mean by how it manifests is like, so for example, like, let's say like the zero tolerance policy, and like, you know, where you say like general shitty behavior is not allowed, right? But a lot
Mhm.
of people, I've seen comments, the pro clone comments are allowed to be really nasty. Like, they say really nasty things about me, about Greg, and I'm like, and that's fine. I don't. It doesn't hurt my feelings, but
If
it
they
doesn't.
do, they get removed. If they say nasty comments, point them out. I swear to God, every single comment that you get, send me a message, send me a link, and say, hey, Chris, this person's called me an asshole. This person called me a piece of shit. This person told me I need to go die. Please do that for me. Please. I will remove that individual because that is a violation of our policy. Right?
Sure. I mean, my point is this: like,
You
I'm not.
blow that off, dude, but that's a
No, no,
big deal. If
no,
people are
no, no.
doing
I'm
that
not
to you,
blowing
that's
off.
not
What I'm
right.
saying is, I've seen moderators like Edgewise engage in and
Mhm.
respond and be in those comment chains, so they've seen these comments, right? And he's
Yeah.
just agreeing with them, and I'm just like, what it tells me, right, is that he doesn't care about shitty behavior as long as it's pro clone.
But that's his personal opinion, right? Like if he's doing it as a moderator and he's doing it he lights up
I
his
mean, he
mod
doesn't.
tag and if he lights up his mod, so you're saying that we're not allowed to interact with the sub because we're
No,
moderators?
when there's shitty behavior, it seems like it's only applied to anti-clone and not to pro-clone.
Really? Because I tell people all the time, just like I said today in a thing, I said that, yeah, that's how it should be. But no, if he's being shitty to you, point it out. Like I told you, please point those out to me. Going forward, point those out to me. And I can bring it up. I can say, hey, look, Edge, man, you're doing something that isn't right, right? You told somebody to go fuck off and die, and that wasn't cool. You need to tone it down, right? You need to go apologize. You need to do these things
I think,
because they should be
yeah,
held to
no,
the
and I
same
appreciate
standard
that.
as you.
Yeah, I mean, and clearly, like, you have a very different viewpoint, at least from what I'm inferring from what I've seen, right? In
Mhm.
terms of behavior, you have a very different viewpoint from someone like Edgewise, who's I've read his comments, like he's had a lot of them, right? He's kind of a belligerent and not really respectful person from what I've seen. Like, um, I mean, and he also just says things that are blatantly untrue. Like here's a comment right here. Man has a hell of a point here. I just found out Brian from Transparent Knives has made blades for clones, which is actually a complete lie. I don't do that.
Okay.
And so I just see him.
So refute that. So refute that because that's an open forum. That is the debate that you're going to win if you are correct. If factually that is correct and you can prove that, you'll make Edgewise look like a fool. You make him look like a piece of shit. Anybody who does that, not necessarily Edgewise, anybody else on the forum. If I do that, if I lie about you and you prove me wrong, everyone else is going to see that I'm a fool. I'm a piece of shit. That's the
I,
reason why opinions
I will
matter.
make that post, and I am curious to see how that goes because
Yeah, I think you should.
from what I've seen on the subreddit, it doesn't seem like the facts really matter to a lot of these people, especially the mod team. But I'm willing to be proven wrong, right?
Well,
Maybe.
but like I told you, you have to be in that framework. You have to not try to. If I can give you any advice, this is personal advice, right? This is me talking. Um, try to find that common ground. Try to understand where they're coming from, and then walk them towards your conclusion. Right? If that's what you want, don't be aggressive. Don't call them names. Don't
I don't. I'm not.
bash the
I
things
don't
that
call
they
you.
love,
I
right?
haven't called
Because
you a.
obviously, if they love that thing, you don't want to bash them. That isn't a way to get them endeared to you. Is be like, yo, you like Rice Krispies? You know, Rice Krispies taste like shit. You shouldn't like those things. that's not going to get that person to like your train of thought, right? Instead, you should be like, hey, why do you like this thing, right? Why do you do this thing? And then get their feedback on it, and then use those points in a way for you to do that. And if it's too much trouble, if it's too much to ask, then obviously you're not that passionate about it, right? Or you don't have time for it, which means it doesn't matter. But these are things that people have the ability to do these kinds of things. I think they should, right? That's just my personal opinion. I think that you should be able to say whatever you want as long as it isn't demeaning to another individual. And that's 100% how I feel. Today, matter of fact, somebody posted in there, filthy makers. And I said, yo, that isn't cool. You're tiptoeing the line saying filthy makers. He goes, oh, man. He goes, I didn't mean it as in I was calling the makers filthy. I said, that's what people think. And I said, oh, man, I'm sorry. I read that wrong. And I crossed it out and I said, edit. I read the comment wrong. My fault.
Let me read you a comment. This is a typical Edgewise comment. I'm curious. Can you imagine? He's talking here. Can you imagine how bad this guy would be if he were an actual knife maker and had something worth being cloned? It's silly as fuck that a guy who makes one dumbass fixed blade called the Doodle, yes, it sucks, and a shit ton of reblades, which might I add could be looked at the same way he's talking about these knives being cloned, is attacking our community and just wants to be left alone. Like, I'm like, I look at that and I'm like, I'm not saying, you know, the comment should be deleted or whatever, right? My point is, like, that level of being basically rude is what's commonly deleted when it's anti-clone.
No, I understand 100%. And I think it's one of those things where if it's just a rude comment, it shouldn't be deleted, right? Like if he didn't break any rules, that it doesn't matter. But the point is that by him saying that, that's his opinion. If he were to make a mod post about it, or he were to speak about it as a mod, that would be different. You know what I'm saying? That's whenever you can be like, yo, dude, you need to tone it down a little bit because you're being a little aggressive with people.
What if I said anyone who buys a clone is a narcissistic dickhole? Would that be a problem?
Yeah, that's name calling. Didn't I just say that?
So you know who made that comment?
Who?
Edgewise.
Okay, so report him for it. Report him
for
harassment. Report him for harassment, please. Because that apparently is harassment, right?
Now
it's going to fall underneath free speech, and that's going to be up to Reddit whether or not they ban him, but that's your choice. I don't want him you can do that thing.
My point is just there is a discrepancy in the treatment of comments that are pro-clone versus anti-clone, and there's a reason. It's not a coincidence that Knives is 75% clone content now. It's because it's been pushed so hard by the moderator team, and anything pro-clone is allowed, even if it's rude, and anything anti-clone is censored. And you know.
Really? So you don't think that it's just that people who like that type of content flocks here more than anyone else, and so therefore they have the majority of that thing?
I mean, why?
You're trying to say that clone lovers who join...
What was the necessity of a zero tolerance policy against clone bashing and clone hating if people all just love clones in your community to begin with?
It isn't so much that they all love my... I never said everyone loves.
I'm just saying.
I didn't say that. I said the majority. So that doesn't mean that that is 100%. A majority is more than 50%, right? That's a majority. It's what we just talked about earlier with voting. It's the same thing. Doesn't mean, but it's clone bashing, hating, or general shitty behavior. And that's the whole point, because I'm not here to bash on American knives. If I get in the subreddit right now and I were to say, USA sucks, I can't believe this, that is not a way to do something. And therefore, I would be banned because I was general shitty behavior.
And
it doesn't matter if it's a clone or not.
And here's another Edgewise comment, just because you said you want to know about it.
Please.
Bitch ass, dick in the booty dorks. That is so fucked up. I hope these motherfuckers burn their reputations into the ground over this.
Okay. Report it.
I'm just saying, like, it's not like a one-off thing.
I don't condone that behavior. I don't. No offense, but, like, I don't think anyone should fucking talk like that about anybody. Anyone. Period. 100%. Right? I don't deal with keyboard warriors either, right? Like, it's the same thing. Like I said, I'm pretty transparent about who I am. And so I don't take
Sure.
people who are pieces of shit to other people. I don't think anyone should infringe on anybody else, right? And that's the reason why I always back people up. If you put a post up and it is a what I call a critical thinking post, right? A critical post. You are saying, "Hey, this is the reason why makers get hurt. This is the reason why I feel clones should be illegal. This is the reason why I feel Reddit should change its policy. This is the reason why I feel that this sub should be this way." You have the right to do so, and I will always back you up on that. I will back you up. I will post publicly on the piece and say, "Hey, listen, guys, whether or not you fucking like him or not, you can say whatever you want, but he's allowed to speak. He hasn't said anything that is derogatory. He hasn't called anybody names. He's just trying to get his opinion and point across. This is what he feels. If you guys like clones, we let you guys do that too, right? We can't be overlords of the sub, right? I can't ban everybody for everything because there is no kings, right? Like that's what I said earlier. There is no kings or queens. We are not a monarchy. Nobody just decides to do whatever the fuck they want to do. Everything is a vote.
Right.
And so I know it sucks, but that's how it works.
Right. I want to summarize a little bit because I do need to get back to work.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, dude. Yeah.
But thank you for the discussion. Of course, I respect when people come on and have a face-to-face talk in general.
Yeah.
To summarize, you came here to represent your own individual opinions. You do agree that clones and counterfeits do harm the maker, right? We agree.
That's just an inevitability. There's no way it wouldn't, right?
And then but obviously you're saying that some people,
anyone who says it doesn't hurt a maker is not a very intelligent individual, because anyone could tell you that they lost money on it, or they had to fire an employee today, or maybe Bill couldn't get his raise in shipping because of it. There's always going to be repercussions. Now, whether or not it is a victimless crime is different. There will always be issues with victimless crimes. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. Can I actually engage on that one topic? So you
please go for it, dude.
The profit margin, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think it creates a race to the bottom because people start expecting prices.
Yes.
But manufacturers actually can't produce things under a certain price. So they have to start, if they want to compete on price, they have to start cutting corners. And so it actually makes the quality lower.
Agreed. So that's the whole thing with proud liners right now, dude. I don't know if you noticed this, but like some of the knife concepts that are coming out, either they're not doing milled clips, or they're doing proud liners, or they're doing whatever. It's because they need to cut costs whenever they can in order to try and still make that bar where people will afford that knife.
But you said earlier, the first argument you made in the live, whether you want to call it argument, position, whatever, was that it pushes makers to be better. But I think it's pushing to be worse.
But it's not about no. So it's not about trying. See, cost is not always a factor. It's a factor for some people. Like I told you,
right? It's not
my buddy. For him, it's not about money. The dude makes $400,000 a year. It's not about money to him. For him, it's all about how the knife feels. And he thought that Chinese knives, in general, whether they be clones, whatever, in general, were shit. Right? That's how he felt. The point is whenever I put a real knife in his hands, right? He sees the quality difference. He sees how it is, right? And once you point out things to him oh, you feel how the bearings in this one, they feel like they have a gritness to them? Or do you feel how the action, how the detent's super late, it's right here instead of being up here where it should be? Whenever you point those kind of inconsistencies out to them, to that person, it works. But the issue is if you're trying to convince thousands of people to do this thing, it's really hard. It's really hard. I never said that it wasn't going to be hard. I'm trying to tell you that it's not feasible to be able to do the way you want to do it. So your opinions out there is going to be a better way than making yourself the enemy of the sub, right?
Yeah, this is going to be a little bit of a different approach in terms, we have a difference of what we think the proper approach is, right? And
it's a fundamental disagreement.
Right, and that's fine. And I don't think we're going to progress further, not because you're not being reasonable, but just because I think that a lot of the positions I disagree with, right, where that other people have on your subreddit, right, that are somewhat common arguments I see made, are not arguments that you're making right now, right? So there isn't much to really discuss there because you agree. Like a lot of people on your subreddit don't say that the maker isn't harmed at all, right? That's very
True.
common.
But if your point was to try and inform us, to try and get your point across on things, whenever you contacted me, you said, "Hey, somebody wanted to said that you wanted to speak with me." I said, "Yeah." I said, "I want to know more about your situation. I want to know more about what's going on. Give me more information. That's what I need to know." Right? This wasn't a way for you to try and convince me. If you thought that was the thing, if you thought that I was going to be like total pro clone and I was going to come in here and argue with me and this was going to be clickbaity and this was going to be this, that, or the other, it doesn't work like that because I'm not like that.
But
So
yeah,
my job was to try and help you, understand what was going on, and at the same time help my sub to understand your opinion and your position on things.
right. Now, I'm going to post on your subreddit. I'll make a post.
Awesome.
I'm gonna start answering people in the comments, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully I don't get banned.
No, but try not to take offense either, right? Like if someone else is being an asshat, don't retaliate, right? Don't even respond to that person. Maybe they're being a troll. Don't take the bait, right? And if that person is being an asshole to you, point it out. Send me a link. Be like, "Yo, Chris, this comment, the guy just told me he's gonna fuck my mom," right? Like, what are you gonna do about this? I'll bring it to the mods in about 2 seconds, and it'll be removed.
Now, I don't really care if people say that kind of stuff personally.
But I do. I care. This is my opinion on things. I don't want people to treat you like that, just like I wouldn't want you to treat them like that.
Now, I will try to engage. I have my doubts as to, even if I engage in good faith, whether or not any difference. I personally still believe the proper approach is shame.
And it might not. Well, I don't think shame is a thing, but sure.
But I'm always... There's my battery.
People nowadays don't have shame, Brian. That's the issue, right? Like, no offense, but a lot of people nowadays aren't shamed for that kind of shit.
But but again, like I said, we are going to.
You got to get back to work, dude. I appreciate everything that you did for me today. And I hope that if you ever want to have me back on and you want to have more discussions about things, or maybe you want me to take a list of questions from the community and I can try to answer them as a mod, or I could try to answer it as an individual, I'll gladly do that. Like I said, today was a little awkward because I'm both things, right? So I gave you my personal opinion on something and I gave you my mod stance on something. So that's just how it works.
I would like, honestly, to talk to someone who has what I think are the plurality of or the majority opinion, because I don't think you have the majority opinion of this.
I don't think they have the majority of the opinion. I think you think they have a majority opinion because it's something you disagree with. I think that there's a lot more people on that sub than you realize. I get to see all the traffic analysis, and I get to see what people are downvoting and upvoting your shit. You can see it too. And you know that it isn't a majority downvote. You know it isn't a majority upvote. But you know that 4,000 people saw your post and you only got 30 dislikes. So does that mean all 4,000 people wanted to dislike you because only 30 showed up? That isn't how it works.
Of course not. But I think that the point of the upvotes is to show what is going to go to the
But that's like a bias, right? Like a lot of people don't even interact with that kind of shit, which is shit.
Sure, of course. But I do think there's a substantial number of people with the opinions of, like, it doesn't hurt the maker at all. The makers are greedy.
And that's their opinion. They're allowed to do that.
Yeah, and those are the types of people, though, specifically, where I'm like, I don't think compassion is the answer. I don't think their minds can be changed.
But I understand if you do this in our sub, that's whenever you take that aggressive stance, because I won't let them take an aggressive stance on you.
Well, that's
stepping over the line. Don't do that.
That's why I don't do that there, is because I know I would just be insta-banned. It's kind of pointless. But anyway, all right, I'm going to get back to work as well.
Thanks, dude.
So,
I appreciate it, dude.
Yeah. And, we will see if there's different perspectives, people with different perspectives who want
I hope so, dude. I really do.
All right.
Take care, dude.
Bro's getting banned in 5 minutes. Hopefully not. I mean, I will try to reason with people, but I really don't think it's possible to reason with a lot of the types of people that we're talking about personally. I think especially the people who have the particular opinion that you cannot harm the maker through a clone or counterfeit are just objectively like unintelligent people. But that's my personal opinion. I might try to convince people through like, here's some examples of how it hurts people and see how it goes. But I'm not very optimistic with them. I don't think it's really possible to use logic to engage with certain types of people. At a certain, there's a threshold where it's like below this level of like reasoning, some people just like don't like really think that hard about stuff. But anyway, all right, guys, thanks for watching. I'm gonna get back to work. I actually, I I've been awake since 2 a.m. today. That's why I look so tired. I've been up. What is that? Like 20 hours now. And I worked for 15 of those hours, so I did get a lot of work done today, but I am very tired. So I'm gonna do a little bit more, and then I'm gonna call it. But all right, guys, peace out.